Well, I grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, where you learn to skate before you learn to walk, I think. And hockey, and indeed all sports, were a big part of our upbringing. But I began playing hockey, I think, at age 3 or 4. We had one indoor arena in Sault Ste. Marie, and had the opportunity to play a Friday night game there. We didn't play too many games in that indoor arena at 14, so this was a big deal. And the scout for the Toronto Maple Leafs was going to be in the arena that night. And I never had a new piece of equipment. I guess occasionally a new hockey stick. And the day before, on the Thursday, I got a call from the owner of a sporting goods store near the arena. He said, come to my store an hour and a half before the game, I've got something for you. And I went there, he had a new pair of skates for me. I had never had a new pair of skates on my feet. I scored 3 goals that night. It was all the skates. And I'll never forget that act of kindness of that individual who was not wealthy store, but he did that just to help a young kid get along. I was in grade 10. I had the first contact from an alumnus of Harvard in Minneapolis. And from that, it led to my being admitted and having a wonderful education and a wonderful time playing hockey there. Oh, so many lessons. We were very fortunate. Our coach was Cooney Weiland, who was the leading scorer in the National Hockey League a couple of years in the early 30s and then captained the Bruins. And then he actually coached the Bruins through the early war years, and then was a coach in the American Hockey League and became the Harvard coach in the mid-1950s. And he was the first coach at Harvard who was not a graduate of the university. In fact, he had only a grade 10 education. And he was one of the great teachers that I had at Harvard. But he taught us the balance of the game, that you must deal with all parts of the game. You must deal with the team. The team is so much bigger than the individual. And you love the sport for those qualities, a team effort where each of you is making a contribution that adds up to the whole being much better than the sum of the parts. Cooney passed away. There was a memorial service in the Memorial Chapel at Harvard, which seats about 500 people, and about 250 of the people were old hockey players. The other 250 were professors and staff of the university, and I was one of the people who gave a eulogy. And I said, you know, when the history of our civilization is written in 200 years' time, historians will look back on this institution as being a powerful instrument for good. Why is that so? It's because of great teachers, and we honor one today, the hockey coach. So here was a man who had a grade 10 education, who was one of the great teachers at Harvard. When I was installed in this position in 2010, the title of my installation address was "A Smart and Caring Nation, a Call to Service." And both adjectives, smart and caring, are important, and they reinforce one another, to care and to be smart. And I did so because it seems to me that if you look for healthy communities across the country, they are communities where there's a very strong voluntary spirit, where people don't live as individuals or even as individual families. They live with a notion of how do we raise the level of joy and prosperity in our communities for all people. If you want to look at a community that has a good hockey program for boys and girls, begin to look at the volunteers and put a sense of proportion on that, and you will see it's really quite extraordinary. Our centennial year, 1967, began the Order of Canada, whose motto is, they desire a better country. They desire a better country. And we honor those people then with the investiture as a member, officer, or companion of the Order of Canada, because they have demonstrated over a lifetime a remarkable contribution to a better country. For me, these are great Canadians.